All right, let's take a look at Best Kept Secret Chapter 6. Archon.
CQ, this is W9GFO here. Come back?
There are people who claim that these creatures are gods. There are people who claim that these creatures are experimenting on us. That is a lot of rubbish. These creatures are harvesting us. These creatures are not aliens, Mr. Ike. These creatures are sexually compatible with our women. And what does that tell you? It tells you that they came from here. They are part of us. And this makes them all the more dangerous. They know us very, very, very well. They know the great weaknesses of our minds, just as they know the great strengths of our minds. They operate in what I call the gray area of human existence, that side of our lives which we don't want to acknowledge the existence of. They create, African tradition says that the Chitauli, where they engaged God himself in a terrible war, and God defeated them, the real God, Nkulunkulu, the creator. God defeated them, and he closed their mouths so that they are unable to talk or to eat food anymore. But we are told, say, that the Chitauli fatten on the energy that we human beings give them.
Now some of you are thinking, oh no, we're going off the deep end here with David Icke and the reptilians.
America, take a good look at your beloved candidates. They're nothing but hideous space reptiles.
Never mind that the devil is depicted as a serpent in the Bible, and many ancient cultures speak of dragons and lizard people. In fact, one of the most intriguing traditions to look at is that of the so-called Gnostics, who believed in the Christ while deriving much of their lineage from the Magi of ancient Persia.
The reason we're here, Sean, is to learn and grow in consciousness. Now, there's the All-Father according to the Gnostics, and I call that the zero-point energy field consciousness that is love. And then the template of where we're at, this holodeck we're in, this virtual consensus reality, it is the Divine Mother who made this reality so she could make the anthropos, which is the human being, which can be a go-between between the Godhead and three-dimensional reality. Now, very tough thing to do. I'm sure when my parents told me that this is the fifth or sixth world age that the anthropos, the human race, has gone through, it's probably true. We build ourselves up and then we destroy ourselves. And they claim that the demiurge did that, the chief archon.
Yaldabaoth is a strange name you only find in the Gnostic writings. They also call him Samael or Saklas, fool, blind one. The base, extraterrestrial base of the Archons is Saturn, and you think of it as a radio station. So they broadcast from Saturn. Now, the Yaldabaoth is sort of like the main broadcaster. It's the center of the archonic hive mind. They do have a mind, but it's more like an insect mind. They're like insect cyborgs. The Gnostics warned us that about their powers, and one of their powers is called Hal, which literally means virtual reality or simulation. So they can project themselves into the human psyche and appear as if they are here in our environment by using how. In fact, the people who have had these close encounters and these abduction experiences, which are actually described in the Gnostic text, it's as if you had put the headset around them. The ancient seers were specific in describing the Archons in their exobiological or extraterrestrial form. And they said that there were two types. They said there's one described by the bizarre trope, which you only find in the Gnostic writings, of the aborted fetus. So it looks like it has a big head, bug eyes, spindly limbs, and there you have the portrait of the gray aliens. Additionally, they said there was another type, which was a dracon, which translates as reptilian.
I have static memories of being in the presence of reptilians, kind of like snapshots. And my parents, one time when I was about 4 or 5, were bemoaning, Sean, that they could not shapeshift into a full reptilian. And what they said was, we do not have enough of the corruption in us.
Shapeshifting may sound crazy, but it has been part of myths throughout the world. Just think of the Greek gods who took human form. Alexander the Great's mother claimed it was the spirit of Zeus that conceived her world-conquering son. European troubadours sang of pregnancies from shape-shifting dragons. The Chinese believed the dragon to have been involved in the creation of humans, and their generations of emperors were dragons incarnate. Modern society can scoff and call that unscientific, but we have only now come to learn that scientifically we do not see the majority of reality.
What you see is an illusion. It's an approximation. You are actually a wave coexisting with other parallel waves, each wave vibrating at a slightly different frequency. And some of these waves can go in different directions, leaving you in the room. On average, however, what you see is what you get. So objective reality of Newton is an illusion. It's an approximation to the quantum reality.
The body is a holographic projection of an energetic information field. The energetic information field on one level is what we call the auric field. It's an electromagnetic field, and it can be photographed and it can be technologically measured. Now, these parasitical entities are operating at that electromagnetic and beyond to the deeper realms of waveform. That's the level they're operating at. So what they're doing is not possessing the body or the brain. They are, in frequency terms, making a frequency electromagnetic connection with the auric field. And through that, they are feeding off that energy. They feed off low vibrational emotional energy. And thus, the more that society can be structured to create maximum fear, maximum anxiety, frustration, anger, depression, the more we at the electromagnetic level drop into the frequency range that is represented by those emotional states, i.e. the frequency ranges that these entities operate at. Thus, there can be a frequency connection, and there can be not only a parasiting, a vampiring of our energy field as their food source, which is what the ancients talked about, but also it can come the other way in terms of dictating our sense of reality. While we think we're thinking and feeling something that is of our own generation, actually it's coming from another force.
What the hell are you? We are Venom. On second thought, please.
Did you or Bort ever come across this blood drinking stuff? Because before, I had heard the reptilians fed on blood, and I always suspected there was a vampiric or demonic component to a lot of the ritual. But then obviously when people come out with adrenochrome in the recent years, and then they say this is all like, oh, this is, some Q fantasy. I just was curious what, in terms of the research that you guys did pre-2010.
He mentioned it to me when he got into it a little bit with me. He was very careful about what he said. He was very slow to deliver his findings, but He was saying that the blood harnesses sexuality. All the sexuality is about moving information from point A to point B in terms of propagation of species. Blood rituals, when he brought that up to me, was about the exploitation of that energy.
There were a lot of things that I witnessed that, were like secrets that you wish you didn't have to hold on to. People would be wearing black robes with hoods, so you couldn't see their faces. And they'd be walking in a line, chanting the usual things that satanic cults do, like drink blood. They do that.
The mainstream media would have you believe critical thinkers are a danger to the rest of the population. Free thinkers are now reduced to labels: alt-right extremist, conspiracy theorist, anti-vaxxer, climate change denier, Q cultist, who resort to the old blood libel. The power elite are eating babies, like the vampire myths that are common to cultures around the world. The black magician Aleister Crowley wrote, "It was a theory of the ancient magicians that any living being is a storehouse of energy, varying in quantity according to the size and health of the animal. At the death of the animal, this energy is liberated suddenly." It's interesting that now we are told Silicon Valley is investing in science that seeks rejuvenation for the elderly in the blood of the young, as though Bluebeard and Elizabeth Bathory were onto something. And now, rappers who claim children as their main audience are turning into devils and selling blood in their shoes.
The company confirmed to NBC News yesterday that there is a drop of blood in the soul, apparently.
I don't know if you've had anyone come out saying specifically that they've seen this kind of engagement, from ritualistic perspective, actual drinking or eating cannibalism.
Many.
Yes.
And the youngest victims I heard, I have this on tape, were 3-year-old twins who told me that they were there and with high-ranking people, and they had to help killing a baby, and then the blood was collected into special bottles, and they had to drink them. There were twins near to Paris. And it was nobility because they told the mother where it was. She couldn't believe it.
What it's all about is that the blood and the menstrual blood contains something that is important for the propagation of this race that is controlling things on this planet. They need the blood because they are, in fact, not human. They take human shape. They are reptilians. And they need the blood. The blood helps them maintain their reptilian shape, and it helps them maintain their sanity, and it helps them to live in this world because they are not from this world.
The blood rituals that they have, so reptilians don't need human blood to survive. But the reason why they drink this blood is to reverse aging. Yep. And the second reason why they drink blood is to actually, it makes so much sense, is to gain access to our powers and abilities. We have tons of extrasensory abilities, but also DNA capabilities that we've never actually expressed.
The blood is what gives us authority, dominion, and so it's about that dominion. When they drink that blood, wherever that person has walked, wherever they've been, they believe it gives them access to that land and that dominion that individual had. Everything on earth resonates a frequency, a resonance, has a harmonic song. Okay, so these spiritual gates operate at that frequency of thanksgiving. The enemy cannot be thankful to open the gates. The true thankfulness is gone because they've all been cast out of heaven. They've been cast from the presence of God. So what's the closest thing that they can get to that same frequency that will open those spiritual gates? And that's delight or ecstasy. So how do the spiritual gates operate? And this is important to that question. Scripture tells us that, we enter the gates with thanksgiving in our heart. Really what they're doing with the pedophilia, it's not about necessarily lust or, a sick desire to harm children. Like it's about that sex magic. And to appease Satan, to appease the demons, to reach those higher levels in that system, you have to be good at sex magic. And unfortunately, the only way they can get that is, they have to involve children.
My father, I can remember him raping me, and it was almost like the energy of my heart, of my life, was being drawn through him to the etheric entity inside him. The suffering and dissatisfaction of the human soul is what feeds the archonic devil spirits.
You describe some of them as psychopaths in business suits.
Dinosaurs in business suits, I think.
The dinosaurs in business suits, yeah. Is that because they had common characteristics, or that made you classify them like that, or was there a variety of preferences and abuse scales that they registered on?
The dinosaur is a reference to the brain, the reptilian brain.
The reptilian brainstem consciousness is just about money, greed. It's comfort, profit, and greed. And when consciousness is locked in there, all we can focus on is the 4 Fs: feeding, fighting, fearing, dare I say, fucking. It's about consciousness. Everyone is stuck in reptilian brainstem until they've initiated and opened up to frontal lobe neocortex and done the work to alchemize the soul and eventually the spirit back into matter.
It's said that Hollywood movies are rooted in sex and violence, which most stimulate the reptilian part of our brain. It could be epitomized in sadomasochistic sexuality, featuring a need for control and inflicting pain, which we have referenced throughout this story. Angelina Jolie was alluding to it in a leaked video from early in her career that even referenced the possibility for blackmail and sacrifice that we see within these elite networks.
It's like I would film things like that. I would encourage like everybody, all different types of sexuality. But there is that thing where it's like a lot of people misunderstand me with S&M and they think it's super. And I have to like explain to people how, like, where it's more like you're tied down because you need to like be able to like have somebody hold you down and keep you still, or like fight and have somebody down, or be able to heal once you're beaten, like, or something. It's a great thing we've been able to like see everybody's sex, like just sexuality, or, but it's so weird when you just. I have like the most amazing compromising pictures of people. That's my snake. I had it's that like.
So you believe in the Illuminati?
Absolutely.
And is it just from research or from like any personal experience?
No, I like it says, I know that they exist. Back in, when I was around 20 years old, I was introduced to a lot of people being kind of the rage out in New York City, and I had met some people that introduced me as being part of an organization, which had to have been the Illuminati. But it was on Staten Island. It was a big mansion. They had guards walking on the walls. It was all lit up, and and I went in there, and he was this art dealer guy, and he was not what he was. And they were very interested in my skills and my talents if I would get involved with some of their projects and stuff like that. And they, my gut feeling was this is not the place I want to be, and these are not the people I want to be involved in.
It was very dark, negative energy.
Yeah, well, I don't want to call it a sex parlor, but that's kind of how it felt. It felt like red candles in there. They had their altar in the middle down there. I mean, and these are big people with big money at the time.
I think Kubrick pointed it out in the film Eyes Wide Shut very accurately. What is the need for the sexual nature of the magic? You know, why the sexuality behind it?
Well, I think it's just common sense. I think the common sense is it's one of the strongest human needs. It's a human drive, and it's a number of things. It's procreation, makes it one of the strongest drive versus just as much as eating or needing water or breathing. It's more or less a great recruiting tool for them, because it's like, here, you can indulge in this, and it's a great way to then convert people over to your thinking. You socialize, you have, and it's also like, you got to keep our secret, and so there's a bonding there also. So I think it's a big recruitment system.
When you've got a vehicle like our body that's capable of manufacturing very precious secretions, enlightenment secretions, that's effectively a battery, you can harvest energy from it. This could be like a plantation planet where they're harvesting something from our bodies. Numerous traditions speak of that possibility. So that could be a motivation for an extraterrestrial race to come here. But I'm also a specialist in the Tibetan rainbow body, or great perfection tradition, that tells of these benevolent beings, the bodhisattvas, who came to Earth in order to raise our awareness about our ability to transform our body into a next level of vibration they call the rainbow body, which enables access to stargates, wormholes that connect us up to as many as 13 star systems, which the Tibetans say were sort of a colony, if you will, in this federation, to use a Star Trek term, of star systems that are all interlinked. So there's different ways we can twist this diamond, and you're going to get the reflection based on the way you look through the diamond.
We are multidimensional beings, right? We have light bodies that we can't see maybe to the naked eye, but many traditions have talked about this and working on activating it, right? Our Kundalini energy, our chakra system. This seems to be very much what the Archons are feeding upon, right? In terms of their agendas, very much to feed upon it, to try to manipulate it, and then our job is to essentially activate and come into our fuller lighted potential.
Well, there are two great deterrents to the Archons. In the first place, Kundalini is a zapper for the Archons. And unfortunately, needless to say, due to certain nefarious and degenerative influences, very few people in our time have that privilege. And if you have a strong, good, sane, balanced sexuality, you already have tremendous resistance to the Archons. The other factor of resistance is, of course, in your mind, because they're mind parasites.
Now, what's really weird is when every avatar, from Krishna to Buddha to Jesus Christ, every single one of them said, go within and bring what is within out. Bring your inner consciousness. Break the shell of your programming in this world. I mean, break the spell of go along to get along. Break the spell of ignorance.
They think they're gods. They have conditioned us to think we're not, but we are. And part of the awakening process is to realize that we're part of the Godhead. To be in the Godhead means you have to understand that you're the ultimate creator, you're eternal, and everything in your universe you put there.
When you open your heart, when you're in a state of love, when you're in a state of compassion, when you're in a state of integrity, your vibrational state rises to the frequency level that is represented by those states, and never the twain shall meet. You become unpossessable because you're not in the frequency range that they can access. It's like being on two different television stations or radio stations.
They couldn't make me evil because that's not my energy. My innate energy is love, and they can't change that. That's the spirit they can't touch. That's what they're so scared of. That's why they want to control the mind, so that they inhibit our expression of it. They know that the strength of the human spirit is our saving grace.
Keep your hand on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on.
For too long, our fear is how the shadows have ruled us. Because fear shuts down the mind, the heart, the spirit. The time has come for us to take our power back from the beast. For as Credo Mutwa said, that beast lives even within us. But when we face it, we shine our light on it. And in the light, we awaken to a new day.
Imagine a world where hugs are greetings, where words are honored because we are genuinely happy to share this world with each other. Imagine a world where contracts are expansions and agreements are oral because goods are transacted between friends until all share in the wealth. Imagine a world where you're not seen as a commodity because millions won't follow soulless posers, ignoring the cues of social engineers, for we are all creators. Imagine a world where people do what's right by trusting their intuition no matter what their leaders and laws tell them to. Imagine a world where the sickness in our souls is treated as carefully as a doctor working in the ER, knowing that healing only happens inside. Imagine a world where feelings are valued, enough to be expressed instead of scoffed at, because in the eyes of the young is the heart of the mature. Imagine a world where imagination is honored and society looks at its own shadows rather than projecting them out onto others. We'd all be set free. Imagine if we stopped trying to force the world the way we want it to be and started to love our life just the way it is. Imagine if every child were told that they are enough. Instead of competing for more, we'd make room for everyone.
Okay, I like what they say. It's for the children.